I've come to a clear conclusion. Cole lacks responsibility and compassion. There's no doubt I must take control of the situation. I've decided to move back to my parents' house. And Cole will have to leave. From the day we got married, Cole has depended on me for everything, despite my efforts. I've even paid 4,000 pesos a month in rent. Now he intends to kick me out of my own home. This is where I draw the line. For months I've thought about divorce. But Cole's selfishness and cruel comments have only reaffirmed my decision. I firmly told him I was leaving. But that in the meantime, he had to leave immediately. His response was to shrug and say, "Fine. I'll leave tonight and come back tomorrow night. Just make sure you're gone by then." His arrogance was breathtaking. I asked if he cared what things I was taking. And he indifferently replied, "Don't touch my stuff. Do what you want with the rest." His dismissive attitude left me speechless. But at the same time, strengthened my resolve. If he's leaving me everything else, I'm going to make the most of it. Perhaps it's time Cole faced the consequences of his actions. I've already started planning. If necessary, I'll hire a moving service to pack my things while Cole finally faces the consequences of his behavior. To give some context, I'm MIA. I'm 31 years old, a graduate of a prestigious program, and work as a researcher at a highly respected company. My career is stable, and my salary is decent for my age. What I earn allows me to live in a luxurious apartment that costs 4,000 pesos a month. At first glance, my life seems perfect. I have a great job, a beautiful home, and a family that includes my husband, Cole, and our son, Kai. To an outsider, it might seem like I have it all. I know many people face hardships, some struggling to meet their basic needs, without a roof over their heads, or without family. In many ways, I am fortunate, and I value it greatly. However, my life isn't as ideal as it seems. The 4,000 peso rent is a heavy burden on our finances. Even with my stable income, it puts us under a lot of pressure. The worst part is that Cole refuses to contribute. If he had a real job, we wouldn't be in this financial bind. But at 32, Cole is still chasing his dream of becoming a musician. At one point, I admired his ambition. In the beginning, he did well, performing at events and live shows. He was even somewhat popular. But let's be honest, entertaining a few people here and there doesn't pay the bills. The income from his part-time work is totally unpredictable, and his dream of becoming a star seems increasingly distant. Meanwhile, I carry everything. Instead of working to build a stable future for us, Cole continues clinging to his dream while I take care of the realities of life. Every time I express my concerns, he dismisses them as if they were nonsense. When I mention our finances, he responds with comments like, "You sound like an old woman with so many complaints." But I'm not complaining. I'm just stating the truth. I've been patient, understanding, and have supported him in every way I can. But my patience has run out. I've carried the weight of our marriage and our family for too long. Cole's unwillingness to change has forced me to make a decision. Divorce is no longer a possibility. It's the only option. I deserve a life free from constant worry. The rent and the derogatory comments have been too much. My son, Kai, and I deserve more. It's time I prioritize my well-being and leave behind a relationship that is only holding me back. I know this is the best decision. I'm capable of building a secure and fulfilling life for myself and my son without Cole dragging us down. If that means starting over, so be it. This is my opportunity to regain my independence and create a future where I can finally feel calm and happy. When I was younger, I watched Cole shine as he pursued his dreams. He seemed incredible and full of promise. When I got pregnant, he told me he would work hard for our son. I was barely 20 when we got married and started a family. I thought getting married would mean he'd leave his musical dreams to focus on building a life with us. At first, I felt bad about questioning his decision to continue with part-time jobs and his dream of music. I didn't want to make him feel like he had to give up everything for the family. But after our son was born, everything changed. Except Cole. He continued with his music and his part-time jobs as if nothing had happened. I couldn't take it anymore. One day, I warned him. "How long do you plan to keep working part-time jobs? You're almost 32. People your age are building careers. Cole just replied, "I have my own way of life. Don't compare me to others." I couldn't believe his response. "Your words sound nice, but they don't mean anything. If you want to talk about living your own way, then start by helping with household expenses." He tried to justify himself by saying, "When I'm famous, I'll make up for all the money I'm not earning." Right. At that moment, I felt a chill. I stopped dreaming and faced reality. Cole had no response to that. He finally accepted a part-time job, but even that wasn't enough. Earning 80.000 pesos dollars or even 133.000 pesos a month would have helped a lot. But Cole kept talking about his dreams. "You're being too hard on me," he'd say. "Times have changed. There are many ways to be successful without signing with an agency. I'm not just streaming music anymore. It's just that my name isn't very well known yet. Companies have all the power in advertising. But I'm making progress. Even if it's slow." I didn't know how to respond. All of this is so confusing to me. When will he realize that all this is just an illusion? Cole's band broke up a long time ago. The other members moved on. Some got married. Others got stable jobs. I think Cole should do the same. But he always says things like, "Giving up on your dreams is pathetic." I don't see it that way. I believe that choosing to give up your dreams for the good of your family is a significant and responsible decision. That's so wrong. When I was pregnant, Cole promised me he would work hard for our son. But now I realize what he really meant. He would continue to work hard on his musical career. I keep hoping that as our son grows, Cole will finally face reality. "You bought expensive clothes again?" I asked. He replied, "Looking good is important for my job." I couldn't believe it. He hasn't earned a single dollar with music yet. And here he is talking as if he were a star. It's been 11 years since our son was born. And Cole is still working part-time. Now almost 32. He's spent years chasing his musical dreams without any real success or significant achievements. Instead of earning money, he spends more and more on expensive clothes and music equipment. "I wish you'd spend less on those things and contribute a little to the household," I told him. He responded curtly, "You can't satisfy hunger with pretensions. These things are necessary for me." Because of his attitude, we argue a lot. We try to have these conversations when our son isn't home or goes to another room. But the apartment is small, so he often hears us raise our voices. That's one of the reasons we're considering moving to a bigger place. As our son, Kai, grows, this apartment feels smaller and smaller. Kai is 11 years old now, and this place is already getting a little cramped. "What do you think about moving?" I asked Cole. "Yes. This was your place from the beginning, wasn't it? You lived here before we got married," he replied. "Do you have a problem with that?" I asked. "No, it's not a problem," he said. "But I'd like to move to a bigger place. Maybe a high-rise condo. That would be amazing." "And who's going to pay for it?" I asked. He replied, "You take care of the rent. And I'll cover the electricity, gas, and groceries. Please. I really want to live in a high-rise condo. With my salary, moving to a condo of that type was within my means. I even felt a little encouraged by Cole's offer to contribute. Even if it was a small gesture. Maybe this was the push he needed to start understanding the value of money and face reality. "Okay," I said. "I'll look for a place. But since I pay the rent, I choose where we live." "Deal." "Deal," he agreed. "As long as it's a high-rise condo, I'm okay with whatever you choose." I thought this could be the start of a positive change. A new place. A new opportunity. But it didn't turn out as I expected. A year after moving to the condo, Cole was still chasing his musical dreams. At 32, he hadn't fulfilled any of the promises he made when we moved. "Hey, the gas bill came," he told me casually. I reminded him to make sure to pay the bill before it was deducted. Once again, he avoided taking responsibility. "I don't have the money right now," he replied. "When will the next time be? You always say the same thing. But it never happens. You're always making excuses. You don't understand how important money is." I asked. Frustrated. "All you do is complain about money," he replied, ignoring me. "I'm only asking for the bare minimum to cover our bills. Why do I have to keep reminding you of this?" I said, tired of repeating myself. He had promised to help with the bills. But those promises always seemed empty. Fortunately, I had set up automatic payments for essential expenses like electricity and gas. Otherwise, Cole wouldn't even have paid them. Occasionally, he would leave some money, though it wasn't enough. I remember one time finding 100 pesos on the living room table when he wasn't home. It wasn't nearly what we needed, but I thought maybe he was too embarrassed to give it to me directly. For a moment, I allowed myself to think that maybe he was trying to show that he cared. But that hope didn't last long. I still hadn't received his share of the electricity bill for that month. Sometimes I pay, Cole argued when I pointed this out. But I felt like all he was doing was leaving small amounts as if that were enough. He'd leave a bit of money behind, maybe to feel better about not contributing adequately. And then there were the lies. One day he asked me if I wanted to take my parents on a trip. "Can you lend me some money?" he said. "How much do you need?" I asked. "About 100 pesos should be enough," he replied. I gave it to him. But deep down I knew he wasn't actually planning any trip. Cole has a habit of lying when he needs extra money. I know it. And he knows I know it. But we still continue with this dynamic. I suspect he uses the money for his friends or simply to show off. Meanwhile, the rent for our high-rise condo is 4,000 pesos a month. It's been that way for 5 years. And I've been struggling to make ends meet. I thought moving here might motivate Cole to take work more seriously, but he has continued to disappoint me. I can't save any money in this situation, and I'd rather use it on something meaningful, like securing our son's future or saving for my retirement. I'd thought about divorce before, but now I'm seriously considering it. Then Cole said something that made my decision clear. "Hey, we have an unused room." "Right," he said. "I was thinking about cleaning up the room we don't use and turning it into a space for my parents. What do you think? Are you saying they would move in with us?" I asked, surprised. "My parents are getting old. We can't leave them alone," Cole replied, trying to sound noble. But I knew him well. He always talks a good game, but never follows his words with actions. "Who do you think is paying the 4,000 peso rent for this high-rise condo? It's also me who covers all the household expenses and our son's education," I replied. The idea of having to live with my in-laws on top of everything I was already enduring seemed completely unacceptable to me. "I'm against it," I replied firmly. "Don't answer so quickly. Think about it for a while," he told me. "I've already thought about it. My answer is no," I said again. "Why are you so stubborn? What's wrong with taking care of your parents?" he asked. "Are you telling me I have to abandon mine?" "You're heartless," I replied, looking at someone who was just listening to our conversation. I may sound selfish, but I'm not. The problem isn't his parents. It's Cole. If his parents move in, I know exactly what will happen. Cole will take charge of nothing, and all the responsibility for caring for them will fall on me. I'm already doing everything for this household. I cannot, and will not, take on more," I said firmly. "I won't live with your parents." Cole looked at me furiously. "I see how cruel you are. Fine. I'll live here with my parents." "So you have to leave," he said angrily. I couldn't believe it. Since we got married, Cole has depended entirely on me. And now he's trying to kick me out of the house even though I'm the one paying the 4,000 peso rent every month. His words made me realize how helpless and irresponsible he really is. I've been considering divorce for a while, but now I'm certain. His unreasonable demands and selfishness have made my decision clear. "Fine. I'll leave the house," I said. "Good. Pack your things and leave quickly," he replied. "I'm going out now, but I'll be back tomorrow night. By then, I'll be gone," he said coldly. "Are you sure you don't want to see what I'm taking?" I asked. "Don't touch my equipment. Do what you want with the rest," he replied before leaving. Now that Cole was gone, I realized I was free to handle everything in the house as I pleased. As I was thinking about this, my 15-year-old son, Kai, came out of his room. "Mom, I'll help you pack. And I'll go with you too," he said softly, trying to comfort me. "It breaks my heart every time Cole and I fight." Kai speaks in a low voice. "It hurts me deeply as a mother that my son has to tiptoe around these situations to avoid tension. When Kai was younger, he loved playing with his dad and didn't understand what was really going on. But as he grew older, he began to see the truth. Now he supports me in ways that no child should have to. Where should we start? Kai asked me. Start with your things. I said. I have something else to handle. I just want to give him a little surprise. I thought as I grabbed my phone. I made a call. Hello. I'm sorry for the last-minute request. But could you help us tomorrow? After packing what we needed, my son and I decided to stay in a business hotel for a while with just the essentials we had. I would have to find a new place to live soon. That night, knowing Cole would call, I put my phone on the table and waited. When it rang, Kai and I looked at each other. I picked it up and answered. Hey, what's going on? Where are you? Cole yelled on the other end. What do you mean? What's the problem? I asked calmly. All my clothes and equipment are here, but everything else is gone. Where are the tables? The refrigerator, he asked. Don't take them. I replied. I called a junk removal service to get rid of everything. By now, it's probably already been incinerated. Kai, are you there too? Cole asked, sounding even more scared. When Kai spoke, Cole seemed completely surprised. He probably didn't expect Kai to be around and was shocked to find the house almost empty. What do you mean everything is gone? He said. Annoyed. The furniture and appliances are owned by both of us, he added. You told me I could do whatever I wanted with everything except your equipment. I reminded him. So I did exactly that. How am I supposed to live now? Cole asked. Frustrated. If you need furniture, you can buy new ones. Or maybe use your amplifier as a chair. Or wrap your guitar in a towel as a pillow. I replied with a touch of sarcasm. That's not funny. How could you do something so nasty? He said angrily. I did. I replied firmly. Yeah, I get it. Cole said. But it sounded like he was hoping I would be scared by the mention of divorce. Maybe he thought this was just another argument that would eventually be resolved. But I had already made up my mind. His words didn't scare me, they only made me feel more confident in my decision. In fact, I almost felt relieved that he mentioned it. You understand? We're getting divorced. I repeated to make sure he knew I was serious. You don't have to say it, he replied. I understand. I said coldly and calmly, making it clear that this was final. Cole must have realized that the divorce would hurt him more than me. He looked nervous, unsure of what to say next. Normally, he would apologize. But this time he couldn't. Maybe it was his stubborn musician's pride that couldn't admit defeat. But I know Cole too well. Once he says something, he doesn't take it back. Even if he regrets it initially, Cole acted like he had everything under control. But now everything seemed ridiculous. I'll talk about the details of the divorce later, I said. Are you planning to live in this house with your parents? I should go to the real estate agent first to update the contract. Cole hesitated. Yes. But if the contract is changed to my name, the divorce can't be undone, he said. This is your chance to apologize, he added, his voice trembling. As a last, weak attempt to stop what was happening. Maybe he thought my decision to get rid of the furniture and appliances was part of a plan to force a divorce. But after 15 years of frustration, my feelings weren't going to change that easily. Deep down, I wanted him to face the consequences a little longer. A few days later, Cole and I went to the real estate office to review the new contract for the condo. I finished my part of the agreement without any problems. It was quick and easy. But when it was Cole's turn to sign the new contract, a big problem arose. What's the rent? He asked. 4.500, I replied. Cole's face went pale. When I first signed the contract for the high-rise condo, I took care of everything. I chose the property, negotiated, and signed the papers, while Cole stayed on the sidelines. He never got involved, never asked about the details, so he had no idea how expensive it was. There's no way I can pay that rent, even if my parents help, Cole said, surprised. Apparently, after I left, Cole thought he could rely on his parents to share the cost. He assumed that between the three of them, they could manage. But the rent was much higher than he expected. His parents are retired and live on pensions, and Cole works part-time with an unstable income. It was clear they couldn't afford it. You've been paying this amount every month? Cole asked, still stunned. Yes, I replied. I've been paying because you don't work. And we haven't been able to save anything. I can't handle a contract like this. Cole admitted. Don't worry, I said calmly. I don't think you can handle it either. What do you mean? Cole asked. Confused. He seemed so overwhelmed that he couldn't even grasp the basics of renting a property. I turned to the real estate agent. Excuse me. Is it possible for someone with an irregular income of 80,000 pesos a month to qualify for this contract if their parents cover the difference? The agent shook his head. No, that would be very difficult. The applicant must have a stable income to qualify. I looked at Cole and said, "See, I told you it wouldn't work. You wouldn't pass the evaluation." Cole remained silent, surprised, realizing for the first time how lost he was. The agent, who had probably noticed that we were reaching the end of our relationship, gave a small, awkward smile but didn't say anything. So what do I do now? Cole asked. If you can't sign the contract, you have no choice but to leave. I replied. I've already cancelled my part of the contract. There's no other option. Cole looked surprised. Wow. You've done something ridiculous again. Cole, who likes to call himself an artist, doesn't have much self-esteem, but he loves to show off. This must have been a great embarrassment for him, with his low income, the pending divorce, and now being outsmarted by me in front of people. His face turned red and sweaty, as if he had run a marathon in the middle of summer. Ignoring him, I continued talking to the agent. Since the contract can't go forward, you'll have to move out immediately. Goodbye. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but we don't have much left in the house, mainly clothes and music equipment. It shouldn't take long to clear it out. You can guide me through the moving process. Cole interrupted me. You knew I didn't understand the rent or the conditions of the house. And yet you went ahead with all this. What are you doing? I mean, do you want to review the contract? I asked. You told me you would handle it yourself. Even though you didn't know anything about my income, I thought maybe there could still be a way to make it work. Cole, clearly frustrated, replied. Don't be ridiculous. Calmly, I replied that I wasn't going to leave. If you don't leave, I'll have to call the police. Cole insisted. I told him that I didn't know all the legal details, but he could sue me for trespassing or refusing to vacate since this wasn't my property anymore. It was no longer an issue for the real estate agency or the landlord. They could get involved. And it could be a disaster if a company reported it. The agent looked increasingly uncomfortable while Cole remained silent. You don't want to embarrass yourself further. Go home and pack your things. I told Cole without saying another word. Cole left the real estate office, and I turned to the staff. I'm sorry for all the trouble. The house will be empty soon. If anything is left behind, I'll take care of getting rid of it later. When the agent and I went to the condo, everything was already empty. To compensate for the uncomfortable situation, I brought some sweets to the real estate office as an apology. The process itself was smooth, but I realized that the agent was still somewhat confused by everything that had happened. I'm very sorry about how things turned out, but this situation brought Cole, the dreamy musician, back to reality. Now he had no choice but to face the world as it is. After he left the house, our divorce was officially finalized. Since neither of us had much money, I spent most of it on rent, and he barely earned enough to survive. There was no dispute over the division of assets. My son decided to stay with me. As for my ex-husband, he probably thought he could count on his parents' support, but I had already closed that door. After being married for about 11 years, I contacted my in-laws to inform them about the divorce and say goodbye. I thought it was the right thing to do to keep them informed about what was happening. When my in-laws found out about everything Cole had done, they decided to take a step back and stop supporting him. They told him they wouldn't help him anymore until he found a stable job and became independent. Because of this, his plan to move in with them fell apart. Now over 32, Cole is struggling to survive. Getting a regular job after living as a freelancer for so long is difficult. He continues to work freelance, but his income is still very low. He can barely afford the rent for a small, cheap apartment. And pursuing his music career is almost impossible in this situation. This is the reality of my ex-husband, a man who has achieved nothing. As for me, I've rented a new apartment where my son and I live. Now, without my ex-husband, the rent is much more affordable, and I can use my money for more meaningful purposes. Meanwhile, I don't criticize others for following their dreams. I've found happiness in creating a comfortable and stable life for my son and myself. This is what truly matters to me now.